Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Celestial Tree. I'm an astrologer, intuitive reader, and a soul psychologist as well. Today we're going to be chatting about the full moon in Capricorn happening on the 21st of July at around 10:30 in the morning. So before I get started, here is the gentlest of reminders. If you would like to book a reading with me, then you can do so on my website at celestialhealingrealm.com, and remember to subscribe to my channel for more spiritual tips and astrology updates. So yes, the full moon in Capricorn on the 21st of July will be at 29 degrees of Capricorn. So remember to check your charts for any planets or points that are around 29 degrees of cardinal signs. So Capricorn, Cancer, Aries, Libra. Because that's probably where you'll feel the energy of the full moon the most. So I want to sort of start by talking about the general vibe of this full moon in Capricorn. It's quite an intense one. We have the king of intense, Pluto, very, very close to the moon at the time. There are also some supporting energies from Mars as well. Mars has just gone into Gemini at the time of this full moon, I think. So we also have some supporting energies from Neptune as well, which is good. When the energy of Neptune is used in a positive way, it can be quite a strong force for good. So I'm hoping that we all use the energy wisely. So yeah, full moons and Capricorns are fantastic times full moons in general are a good time for reflecting. But they're also a good time for, like, when you are reflecting, you're kind of planning ahead with the outcomes of your reflections. I hope that makes sense. So full moons and Capricorns are probably the best time to plan ahead. I'm sure that we will hear about, or we will witness, some intense planning or conversations around the future and comparisons around those who hold responsibility now. Capricorn's all about responsibility, and those who held responsibility before. So that is kind of the general vibes of full moons in Capricorns. In Capricorn, not Capricorns. There could be some talks of disillusionment as well, with Neptune quite strongly in the picture. So there could be talks about how to navigate sort of the general disillusionment that a lot of people feel, particularly to do with those who have responsibility. This full moon is also the end of a 6-month cycle that began around January 11th. So there could be a wrapping up of themes that started around the beginning of January, particularly related to governments, things like responsibility. So it kind of feels like the closure of an old chapter. The last thing I will say on this is that at the time of this full moon, there is a little bit of tension between Mercury, the planet of communication, over in Leo, which coincidentally, Leo is actually the sign that rules over the elites. But that's another conversation. That is a completely that is not this video. That's a completely different conversation. So yeah, Mercury, the planet of communication, over in Leo, and Uranus in Taurus, as well as Mars in Gemini as well. So there could be some arguments, intense, frustrating conversations around breaking away from tradition. So I'm thinking about Uranus and Taurus, and how those kind of responsibilities will affect us, the people, the collective, in the long term. So here's how the full moon is actually going to affect you guys on a more personal level. So I just want you guys to remember to listen to your sun sign and your rising sign as well. Aries suns and Aries risings. This full moon in Capricorn will fall in your 10th house of career, public status, and reputation as well. So that means that there might be a culmination or an ending happening for you in some of these areas. You might find that your work requires your attention around this time as well. And with Neptune over in your 12th house of endings, making a harmonious aspect to this full moon, this might mean that the ending that you're experiencing around the 21st of July is quite a positive one. So it's something that brings relief in some kind of way. There could be some frustrating conversations around this time, possibly with authority figures. So I'm thinking about bosses, parents, people that have authority, some type of authority over you in your life, even though you're Aries, so like you're the authority. But yeah, these are necessary conversations to be had in order for you to sort of move on to the next chapter of your life. With Pluto very close to this this full moon, it's likely that the things that no longer serve you, so sometimes Pluto will strip things away from us so that we can evolve and sort of be reborn in a way. So it's likely that things that no longer serve you, things that are not for your highest good, will be stripped away from you around this time, which is a good thing. And these things might be related to your career or your reputation. So Pluto is stripping these things away so that you can pave the way to like a lighter path. And this path is a lot more in line with who you are at this current stage of your life, and who you want to be going forward. Taurus suns and Taurus risings. This full moon in Capricorn will be happening in your 9th house of higher learning and beliefs, ending a 6-month long cycle of personal growth and development. With Mercury over in your 4th house of home and family, you might be having some conversations with members of your family. These conversations will probably be about you, your development and your growth and where you're at now. And even though sometimes sometimes these conversations can end up being quite intense, but I feel like you having these conversations with your family about this is who I am, this is what I believe in, this is very, very important to your growth at this time. So there could also be a wrapping up of a cycle of learning or a period of learning, something that you might have learned in a classroom or something that you might have learned in your spare time. Either way, it's being wrapped up around this full moon. And if you have taken any tests or any exams or anything like that, then you could be hearing some results around the time of this full moon as well. It does feel quite intense, but just remember that a lot of the conversations and occurrences that happen around the time of this full moon are also integral to your personal growth and development. Gemini suns and my fellow Gemini risings, you have a full moon in Capricorn happening in your, or should I say our 8th house of shared resources and psychological transformations. This is quite a strong full moon for release, especially releasing some of the narratives and subconscious stories that we have built up over the years. So this is to do with like shared resources, so debts, loans, inheritance, also a partner's finances as well. This could also be a time where you're becoming aware of some of your blind spots and some habits and beliefs that are kind of like weighing you down, and it's likely you will become aware of these beliefs and these habits and things like that through some intense conversations where you open up and get deep with yourself or with somebody else. I know, pretty scary for Gemini risings and Gemini suns, but it's necessary. It is very necessary. You might be spending a lot of time reflecting on how you can achieve more balance and harmony in your mind and in your life as well, because sort of whatever's going on in your mind has that, it kind of like bleeds out into your life. So if you find in balance and trying to create harmony within your mind, that will also bleed out I believe that sounds so bad. It will also be reflected in your day-to-day life as well. So yeah, there could also be an unexpected expense around this time that might come about as a result of your partner. Not saying that they're to blame, but there might be some out of the blue expense that requires your attention and your resources as well. And what I will say, especially if you have to have a difficult conversation with your partner, is approach everything with an open heart and from a place of love, and focus on the middle ground where you can both come together with sort of shared courage and shared drive to solve whatever's going on around the time of this full moon. Cancer suns and Cancer risings, you have just had a new moon, so that was all about you, and now you're gonna have a full moon that relates to the other. So this full moon in Capricorn will happen in your 7th house of relationships, both romantic and business, as well as marriage and contracts as well. So this is a time where you could be feeling some pretty intense feels. Not that you don't feel intense feels every day, but there could be some pretty intense feels related to a relationship or the direction a relationship is going, or even a potential relationship if you're not in one already. I know a couple of Cancers that are in situationships at the moment, and that is just the pits. Like, we need to get out of that. We need to get you guys out of that. So yeah, I feel like with Mercury over in your 2nd house of self-worth and resources, and this is especially true for Cancer rising, so you might be having some conversations with a romantic partner or romantic interest about your own resources and your own self-worth, which is good. That's a good thing. You could be asking for some support in these areas as well if you're comfortable doing that. Not so much financial support, but moral support as you sort of navigate some of the challenges in the areas of like self-worth and value, and how much you value yourself. Pluto has been doing its rounds in your 7th house over the last not few years. It's been there for a long time, so it's there making sure that all the upheaval and all the transformations that you experience when dealing with one-to-one relationships are all like for your highest good. And what I will say is that if you're holding on to an outdated relationship or situationship, or even holding on to some like qualms is not like the right word, like grudges, if you're like holding things within your heart about your relationship, then address them, release them, and let them fall away around the time of this full moon, so that you can move on and feel lighter within yourself. Leo suns and Leo risings, this full moon in Capricorn is happening in your 6th house of day-to-day work, routines, and also physical health. So this could be a time where you put some unhealthy habits and some health issues to rest, which is great. You might be having some intense but fruitful conversations around your health and well-being and what you need to release in order for you to create more balance and more structure. More balance and more structure within the areas of your habits, health, and your day-to-day activities. So if you're finding yourself feeling this intense need for transformation, especially with Pluto's influence strongly in the picture, follow your heart with this one. Venus is in your sign at the moment, so right now any positive changes to yourself, your well-being, will probably yield really positive results, and you might enjoy the sort of self-improvement regimes like diets and exercise and stuff like that a lot more than you previously would have. So when Venus is in your sign, you're a lot more open to changes and sort of like see the positive side of stuff. So yeah, this could also be the case at work. You might have been putting up with things at work or within your work environment that you're like, I'm done. I'm done. So you might find that sort of issues at work or within your work environment culminate around the time of this full moon. So yeah, be careful of emotional outbursts. If you find yourself in an emotional outburst, then be sure to, like address, release, and let go. Virgo suns and Virgo risings. This full moon in Capricorn will fall in your fifth house of all things pleasure and creativity and romance as well. So you could be wrapping up a creative process or a creative project around the time of this full moon. This could also be a time where a romantic affair kind of comes to a head in a way. Like you have an epiphany about somebody that you might have been interested in romantically, or you might have been seeing them in that type of capacity. And I'm also thinking about Mercury in your 12th house of endings. There could definitely be some conversations around, and these conversations might be a little bit intense, but definitely conversations with somebody that you've been interested in romantically about how things might not have been working out for you, about maybe the relationship or the situation not turning out the way that you had hoped. So yeah, this full moon is all about releasing things. So if things have been building up behind the scenes and things are sort of coming up to the surface as a result of Pluto's influence, then it's really important that you release them and let them go. So yeah, this also might be a time, the fifth house also rules over children. So if you do have children, and your children have been dealing with some issues at school or maybe some other issues, then these issues might culminate, and the situations that they might have found themselves in might come to a head at this point. So yeah, just make sure that you remain present and have a clear head in order for you to be able to deal with whatever comes up around this full moon. Libra suns and Libra risings. This full moon is all about home and family for you and will be impacting your fourth house, which also rules over residence as well. So you could be finishing up some projects related to the home. You might also find yourself prioritizing family matters around this time. And you might also find yourself in quite intense conversations with family or friends, probably family, about some of your most recent experiences and sort of how they've shaped your worldview, which is good because that's how you sort of learn, share and grow together. I'm hoping that your family, if you do have conversations like this, that your family are open and have an open heart to receive some of the information about your experiences and what you've learned over the past couple of months. With Pluto really close to this full moon, if anything uncomfortable comes up surrounding the family or the home, address, release, and then let go as best you can. The more you're able to let things go, the lighter your load is, and the better you're able to sort of continue along your path without holding on to sort of unnecessary drama. So I don't know another way to put it. You could also hear some unexpected news around this time about a friend or a group of friends that kind of takes you by surprise. So do let me know what that news is. Scorpio suns and Scorpio risings. This full moon in Capricorn seems like quite a busy one for you. Life will definitely be lifing around this time. You could be putting more focus into the kind of mundane tasks of life, running errands, doing paperwork, tying up loose ends. You could be feeling much busier. And with that sort of Uranus-Mercury square that I spoke about in the beginning, you could have some almost out of the blue conversations that need to be had at work about your work performance and career progression as well. You could also take a short trip around this time, somewhere around your local community. And I feel like when you're out, the full moon will kind of bring people to you. So people will want to like strike up conversation. Even when you might not be in the mood for it, you're like, why is everybody trying to talk to me? So yeah, careful not to exhaust yourself. I know it's much easier said than done, but try not to overwork yourself. To the point where you're forced to take a rest. So try to find the time to rest before the universe does it for you. Not to be harsh, but yeah, try to take some time to rest before you need to actually rest in order to avoid burnout. Sagittarius suns and Sagittarius rising. I hope we're feeling good. This full moon, not just the moon, the full moon will be happening in your second house of money and self-worth and also values. So what does this mean? This means that you could finish paying something off. You could also hear some news about a change in income or a change in earnings. Hopefully it's good news. There might also be some conversations to be had, particularly with a partner, about the nature of your spending and sharing money between you. I would say around this full moon, whenever we're in that sort of an intense situation or we're having intense conversations, we do feel the need to like self-soothe and self-indulge in order to kind of feel better. I would avoid doing that around this time, because you could end up, in your quest to self-soothe, you could end up spending more than you'd like to. You might look back and be like, should I have spent that money? Should I have done that? So yeah, and we're trying to move away from guilt and shame in this life, okay? So yeah, let's just not even go there. And try not to lean into like possessiveness around this full moon. Like in those conversations, try not to lean into a state of like, what's mine is mine. That type of energy. So whatever comes up for you, whether it's a change in earnings, celebrate that with your family and friends. And if there's a conversation to be had, address it, release it, and then let it go. Capricorn suns and Capricorn risings. This full moon is quite a reflective period for you. It feels like you're kind of wrapping up a transformational period of self-reflection, reflecting on your circumstances, reflecting on how they came to be, what needs to be changed, and what needs to be let go. That's really the focus for this full moon. And around this time, you might also be having conversations about how you can bring more pleasure into your life and what needs to be let go on a mental level in order for you to really connect with the beauty of life, if that makes sense. Ask yourself, what is holding you back from finding joy around this full moon? What parts of your psyche and your mental state need tweaking so that you can cultivate more meaning in your life? That's a very, very important question, not just for you Capricorns, but for everybody. Those are questions and conversations that you might be having, either with yourself, with your friends, with your family around the time of this full moon. Your emotions could be quite high around this time, and I would also encourage you to look back on the 11th of January of this year, and try and think about what was going on for you, because these same sort of themes and topics might be coming to a close at the end of this full moon. Aquarius suns and Aquarius risings. It's time for some downtime with this full moon happening in your 12th house of rest and the subconscious. Pluto is very close to this full moon, so I would encourage you to deal with any issues that come to light. Deal with them head on, especially if those issues are subconscious in nature. So if you recognize any subconscious patterns that you've been holding on to that are quite negative or they're weighing you down, please do address them. You might be tempted to ignore and suppress how it makes you feel, because you're an Aquarius. Let me not feel it, let me just intellectualize it. That's way easier. The better thing to do would be to actually feel how you're feeling and address it. And you might be taking some time away from others and away from the busyness of life in order for you to recharge and refuel. I would also pay attention to the dreams that you have around this time. The 12th house also rules over dreams. They might hold some significant information about your next steps in life. So yeah, there could also be a secret or a revelation that comes to light around this time. But the 12th house also rules over things that are hidden. It might feel like it's a bit out of the blue, like you were just kind of having a normal conversation and then somebody drops some key information and you're like, wait, what? Hold on, what? So yeah, keep an eye out for that. Pisces, my fellow Pisces suns and Pisces risings. This full moon in Capricorn will happen in your 11th house of friends and groups and plans for the future. So what I will say is that you might have a little bit of a falling out with a friend around this time. It doesn't feel like something that can't be worked through, but it is something that might have been brewing for quite a while. Since January to be exact. So yeah, you might also be reflecting on your long-term goals, as the 11th house also rules over, like, you know, your dreams for the future. So you're going to be reflecting on how best you can bring them to fruition. So yeah, the goals that you might have set for yourself at the beginning of the year, you're going to probably be reflecting on your progress and how far you've come and what changes need to be made in order for you to actualize some of those goals. So it feels like kind of like a midway point for you, especially when it comes to like the inner work and also the outer work that you've been doing as well. I would also look out for a friend that might need your assistance in some way around this full moon. So hopefully it's not where the potential argument might stem from, but your friend might be in a little bit of a crisis and might need some extra attention around this time. So that is all I have for you guys today. Remember to follow me on TikTok and Instagram. They're both linked in the description below, and do message me or send me an email if you have any questions. Happy healing, everyone.